This meeting is being recorded under the North Carolina General Assembly virtual meetings law that the City of Raleigh has adopted. So let me continue to share my screen. All boards and commission members' cameras should be on. So if you don't have your camera on, please turn it on. Do not turn off your camera unless asked to be excused. To be excused, you have to speak to your liaison, which is Marquita. If your video isn't available because of technical difficulties or for other reasons, we know that, you know, sometimes maybe you have to turn your camera off for another reason. Please make arrangements to join via audio, which is, you know, through your phone. You can join in the calendar invites. It will have like join by phone. It's a dial by number. That information is also on your Fair Housing website and under the Raleigh NC.gov events page. So if you ever want to know meeting information, it's on the City of Raleigh website. And if it's not, let me know, or Marquita know. Now update that. So connected via audio, please mute yourself unless speaking to minimize background noises and other disturbances. Also, if you do not have your camera on and you're only connected via audio, please identify yourself by saying your name and what you're connected by via audio only. So you will say, Commissioner Williams, I am connected via audio only. And you have to do this every time you speak when roll call is taken, prior to voting and prior to participating in deliberations, including making motions, proposing amendments, and raising points of order. So pretty much every time you speak, if you're just connected via audio, you have to state your name and state how you're connected via audio only. Roll call. So members should start with a roll call prior to the meeting, at the beginning of the meeting. So once the meeting officially starts, you guys will start a roll call and you have to state each person's name. This should be reflected in the minutes. And typically it will say present, you know, and then absent, and then we'll list everybody's name, but you have to go, you know, say name by name. So voting, the new law requires votes to be taken by roll call the same way. So if all members are visible, a vote can be taken by raising the hands as long as the chair announces the vote of each member. So if all your cameras are on, you guys can just vote by raising your hand, but the chair has to announce the vote of each member. So Ms. Sandra, you will say, Jaleesa votes yes, Analia votes no, or whatnot. However, if some of you guys are on audio, some of y'all are on video, you have to each state your name and each state what you vote, your voting choice is. This should be reflected in the minutes as well. So the name of the person and how each person voted should be reflected in the minutes. So whoever's taking notes or the minutes should also have this reflected in the minutes. There'll be no vote by secret or written ballots, whether by paper or electronic means. So pretty much if you're voting for, you know, chairs and presidents and vice presidents and whatnot, vice chairs and whatnot, you can't do it by written ballots or secret ballots anymore because the new guidance, it to be verbal pretty much. A failure to vote by a member who is physically, which is virtually now, present or who has withdrawn without being excused by a majority vote of the remaining members shall be recorded as an affirmative action. So pretty much if you're present, but you fail to vote, you're just like, I'm here, but I don't want to vote today for whatever reason, it'd be considered an affirmative vote, so a yes vote. Or a member who has withdrawn without being excused by a majority vote of the remaining members present is also considered a yes vote. A quorum, a majority of the membership of the board commissioner constitutes for a quorum. So half plus one, if I'm not mistaken, Marquita. The number required for a quorum is not affected by vacancy. So if you have a vacancy, that's not affected. If a member has withdrawn from a meeting without being excused by a majority vote of the remaining member present, he shall be counted as present in the purpose of determining quorum. And so if several board members, for whatever reason, your internet and your audio just don't work, it had to be audio and video both going out, the number of members falls below a quorum, the meeting has to stop. So if it's, I think it's like 5 of y'all. So if half plus one, I guess, audio and videos goes out, the meeting has to stop. However, if you're able to reconnect, you guys can continue the meeting. And like I said, I just did this, so please give me grace. So meeting minutes. In the meeting minutes, it should also reflect the type of remote meeting held. So this is a virtual Zoom meeting. That needs to be reflected in your minutes. The members present should be reflected in your minutes. I think you guys already do that. You guys do both, present and absent. And then when each member leaves or joins a meeting. So going forward, the secretary would need to keep in contact of what time each member joined and what time each member left. So if you had to excuse yourself for whatever reason and leave 30 minutes early, that still needs to be reflected in the minutes. And if you join early or later, that has to still be reflected in the minutes as well. So public records, even though it's virtual, we still have to follow public records law. So all chats, instant messages, texts, or other written communications held during this meeting are deemed public record. So there's a chat box in the function of this. If you put anything in that chat box, that is public record. And I actually save all the chats at the end of each board member or board meeting. So that way, if somebody, for whatever reason, asks for a public records request, we're able to give them that. During the meeting, board members should not communicate in a way that cannot be seen or heard by members of the public. Board members should not use chat, like I said, or IM functions related to board business during the meeting, unless they are, sorry y'all, they're changing my trash can out here, so it's really loud, I'm sorry. Unless they are simultaneously read into the record. So pretty much any written communication. So if y'all are emailing each other back and forth during this meeting, and you include Marquito or somebody, you know, that's all public record. That if we have to get the city attorney involved, we, you know, that has to be public record too. So just be very mindful of that, especially during this time because it's virtual. Technical withdrawal. So if your audio and video connection is terminated due to technical issues, like if your Wi-Fi go out and you can't, and your phone is dead, you can't, you know, join for whatever reason, that member is not considered to be present for the vote, is not counted for quorum purposes. However, if a member intentionally disconnects, so if you're just like, you know what, I don't feel like dealing with this meeting today, if you intentionally withdraw from the meeting without properly being excused, you're counted as present for the vote. And like I said, the yes rule applies. So if they vote to, you know, spend $300 on something, even though you're not there, you intentionally disconnected, your vote would still count as a yes. That's a high level overview of the new virtual meeting guide. So do you guys have any questions? And I went through it pretty fast, so I apologize.
Thank you, Deja.
And I can send this to y'all too in a PDF form. I just did it, so please forgive me.
Thanks. That would be great. Okay, interesting, but no comments from me.
Okay, Marquita, I'm handing it back over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Deja. So we're good to get started. So I'll hand it over to Sandra. And per what Deja just shared, that if you can go through, do a quick roll call so we can capture who all's here for the minutes. And who's, Annalie, are you taking the minutes?
I can.
Okay, can you take the minutes, please?
Yeah, you'll talk slow. I don't type as fast as Marquita does.
Thank you.
You ready, Analia?
Give me a sec, hold on.
Okay, just let me know.
Right.
Ready? Okay, so roll call for the Fair Housing Hearing Board meeting today, September 16, 2020, is myself, Sandra Collins, Colin Barber, Chalisa Williams, Analia. I always thought it was Webb Lehman, but it's not.
I'm good. I'm good. I know how to spell my name. Don't worry.
Wanda Gilbert Coker, Jeff Dillman, Deja, you still on the call?
I am, but Marquita, I don't have to be on the minutes, do I?
Yeah, who has to be on the minutes?
You'll be
Marquita?
on the minutes as an attendee.
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm here.
And Marquita Bonu. Did I leave off anybody? And you can see everybody on the screen except for Wanda and Deja.
Mhm.
Now, I will say, Ms. Analia, also when you write the person name, you have to put how they're connected. So you would say like Sandra video, Colin video, Jaleesa video, Miss Wanda audio, for the board members. And then you'll put the, Jeff and yeah.
So are you saying like yourself and Jeff and Marquita, are you all just considered attendees or?
Yeah, just attendees.
Yeah, for the virtual meeting guides, it doesn't apply to the attendees.
Is Miss Wanda the only one on audio? Everybody else is on video?
Correct.
Okay.
So this agenda, can we move forward? The agenda that we received apparently is also the new agenda that's consistent with all of the boards. Marquita?
That's correct. So that's the agenda for all the boards and commissions moving forward.
Okay. So the approval of the agenda. Is that a vote? I right now I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So you would just say, I move to approve the agenda, and people will say yay or nay. And it's just everyone agreeing to the agenda for the day. And so if somebody wants to say, no, I want to add something to it, or no, I want to change it or whatnot, that would be the opportunity to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I move to approve the agenda for today.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand. Do I have to call out everyone that raised their hand? No.
It's because Wanda's connected via audio. So she has to go through each one. Each
Wanda?
person.
Yes, Wanda Gilbert Coker through audio. Aye.
Okay, everyone has a copy of the minutes from the previous meeting. I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to review them. Are there any questions about anything that's on the minutes from last month? I move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting dated Tuesday, August 19th, 2020.
I second that. This is Colin.
All in favor?
Wanda Gilbert Coco via audio, aye.
Moving on with the agenda, City Council liaison remark. I'm going to assume our City Council representative is still, why are you smiling? Is not with us today. Has he shared anything with either you, Marquita, or Deja to bring forward to this?
No, no remarks from Mayor Pro Tem Branch.
Okay. Moving on next to chairperson's report. I wanted to talk about a couple of things that I've been made aware of, and Marquita probably can, or Deja probably can elaborate a little bit more. But when we had the webinar last week, I made a statement regarding the City of Raleigh's Office of Equity and Inclusion is working to create a fair housing unit, which would encompass a formal complaint and intake process, fair housing testing, and ultimately fair housing enforcement. I'm sure you all heard that statement if you participated. Equitable and non-discriminatory housing practices are paramount to the success of a thriving community. Our mission to bring awareness to fair housing ordinance and enforcement of ordinance is vital in moving forward and continue to make Raleigh a great place to live. It's pretty much a statement of the City of Raleigh's Office of Equity and Inclusion. So apparently there are some things going on behind the scene that at some point I will possibly get approved and rolled out. But I was hoping that Dr. Caesar was going to be on our call. And I know she's trying to kind of roll off of being on all the different board meetings. But hopefully at some point she comes and share kind of her thought process and possibly what some of this mean or her goals, et cetera, before she stop attending the board meetings. But Marquita or Deja, is there anything that you all can share in referencing to
Yeah, in regards to, so one of our top priorities in the office is the creation of a fair housing unit. And one of the first steps is the City of Raleigh Fair Housing Ordinance, the one that the board has been pushing on for many years to be updated, to be equivalent with the state level and the federal level. We're working, or we're taking the first steps to work with the City Attorney's Office to have our Fair Housing Ordinance updated. And then from there, we're going to begin to, so the end of this year, the city begins its fiscal process, right, to look at its budget for FY 2020 or 2022. And the City of Raleigh, we're looking to create new positions because to create a fair housing unit, you need staff to staff that. So you need an investigator, you need admin support, and you need someone to help with outreach. So that's something that's on the priority. We're going to be looking at getting more staff in to support that office and unit and setting it up. And we want to support legal aid and the North Carolina HRC. And then this won't be a next year thing because it takes time before we get accreditation that we're able to actually investigate cases. But we want to be able to begin to support legal aid in doing some testing. I know that was one of Dr. Caesar's priorities, as well as our office is working on taking, not complaints, but what's the word I'm looking for, Deja? Taking
Inquiries.
Yeah, thank you. Intake, fair housing inquiries, landlord tenant inquiries. So we're working on creating that system, and we've been working with the North Carolina HRC to funnel when we get fair housing inquiries, to funnel it to them. So we're more accessible since we're in Raleigh. Those were some of the first steps. And I will say, Chalisa, last meeting you brought up the analysis of impediment. And since that last meeting, we have been talking in our office about how, since the analysis of impediment is out there, how do we partner with the board? How do we partner with other community partners and create some type of maybe task force to ensure that some of those things that were identified in the analysis of impediment move forward, and possibly creating a task force and doing some type of engagement with partners and whatnot, and then reporting that back to council. Because once we report it back to council and it comes from like the board, that holds some weight, you know, and it's kind of like, okay, all eyes are on us. What are we going to do as a city to move forward to address some of that? So I did want to share that as well. So that's some of the next steps. And so I'm definitely going to rely heavily on you all, definitely with the setting up the fair housing unit and really that task force to address the analysis of impediments. And then you remember was it last year? Yeah, last fiscal year when Corey Branch, Mayor Pro Tem Branch, talked about possibly adding 2 more seats onto the Fair Housing Hearing Board. So I know that's still up for discussion. I don't have any, clear direction on what that's going to look like, but that's on the back burner. That hasn't gone away. So that's a possibility too.
Wanda has a question. Wanda?
Yes, Wanda Gilbert, Coco via audio. My question is, how is this going? Well, are we going to work with the new unit that legal aid is setting up through Wake County? Is this going to be like a shared office or responsibility, or they're just going to be something separate? Or I'm just trying to figure out how, because they supposed to be setting up a diversion, what is it called? Oh, not rent diversion. I'm trying to think of the word.
Eviction diversion?
Yeah, eviction diversion. Yes, eviction diversion program. So.
Absolutely. Wake County can definitely be a partner. Lorena McDowell, we have met with her. And so she did explain that program with us. And so we've been talking about how we can all partner together, since we're all working with the same, community. So definitely they will be partners at whatever we do moving forward. Most definitely.
So will we be like, instead of sending something to, if we have an inquiry, instead of sending it to human relations, state human relations, we will send it to them, or do we send it to both, or is there something we have to work out once?
We would send it to still the state human relations, because they are the ones who do the fair housing investigation. Because Wake County, they don't have that authority. And so in setting up the office, like whenever we get that substantial equivalency from the federal government, it may be a Raleigh Wake County thing. It may not just be Raleigh. So I don't know. That's for further down the line, a little bit above me as to what that will look like. But I just know right now we're trying to set up a pipeline from Raleigh to the state, because the state, they're the ones who do the official investigations right now. And
right.
They have authority through HUD.
I will say, Ms. Warren, this is Deja. One thing I thought about too, I haven't shared to Marquita, but just popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to get some landlord tenant complaints that's not fair housing related, and I think that's when working with Jeff and legal aid and your team to be able to funnel out our fair housing versus our landlord tenant complaints, or inquiry, shall I say, So that way we have kind of like, and then, you know, different field offices we can funnel it through. Like if it doesn't work for, you know, state HRC, maybe it's a legal aid type question. But I guess my question is maybe to Jeff or Ms. Wanda, if you know, will the Wake County have like a FAP status or whatever they're building in Wake County, or is it just a tenant diversion court, I guess? Is it just landlord based, or is it fair housing based, I guess?
So this is Jeff Dillman by video. I'm an attendee, I don't know, for the minutes. So I'm not sure if Wake County is attempting to get FAP status, which is the substantial equivalency status from HUD, or not. The other groups that have that in the state, aside from the state of North Carolina, most of them are city, except for Orange County. There's a county one, and then in Wake Mecklenburg, sorry about that. Charlotte Mecklenburg also has it. It's sort of a combined part of most of the county, although not all of the county in the city of Charlotte. So I'm not sure if they're doing that. As Wanda mentioned, you know, legal aid is setting up an eviction diversion program in Raleigh and in Wake, and that's, you know, legal aid handles both evictions, and then I am the managing attorney of the Fair Housing Project, and so we deal just, you know, primarily with the fair housing part, and if it's an eviction issue, we're usually having other legal aid attorneys handling it. So I think it does make sense that some cases wind up getting funneled to one organization and then some to other places, depending on the substance of it. But I'm not sure yet. I haven't heard yet of the county applying for the FAP status, for substantial equivalency status, and I don't know where that is.
This is Wanda Gilbert Coco again via audio. I'm just concerned that, I mean, I know that's something we'll work out, but I just want to, you know, mention it now that being on the ground and working out here in the community and dealing with these issues, eviction issues daily since COVID-19, that time is of essence. So I don't know what that funneling looks like. I just don't want people to get caught up in a loop hole or some language. I'm not sure who's writing the language, what that looks like, but I just want to say that now so that it is framed to where people are getting help immediately instead of having to go through some red tape or some flow chart, something. So, but yeah, I just want to put that on record that time is of essence when it comes to these eviction issues that we're dealing with. And Sonya talking.
I was trying to follow the rules. They say if you're not speaking, mute. But no, I was just saying, thanks. Good conversation. And it's true that there is a lot going on. I was looking at a document I had about the how the funding from the Affordable Housing Bond Committee recommendations, and it was saying that 24 million, which is 30%, would be for low income housing tax credit. And staff recommended allocating 10 million from the bond funds for permanent supportive housing for very low income, 30% AMI or lower. But, you know, and again, I know that this is in the future, but there's a lot going on now. I'm a part of like so many webinars and Zoom meetings where people are trying to figure it out. And, you know, and Wanda knows about this. CASA is in the middle of building 100-unit permanent housing for low income residents. or for people that are unsheltered, that'll be built over behind, kind of close to Wake Med. So I don't know how long that project will take. You know, they're finna kick off their fundraising, but they have purchased the land and they are moving forward with it. I found it interesting. They were using a comment that it should help 10% of the unsheltered community. So I'm never sure where people get their numbers from when they come up with those percentages, but I'm going to assume it's just for people that they were able to count in a number somewhere, wherever they pulled those numbers down. So that's just one project, and hopefully these tax credit incentives help builders or developers that come into our area. You know, it's going to be really difficult to help people if permanent housing of some form, and I don't mean single family homes, but just some type of permanent housing for people don't start to happen. You know, it's nice to have emergency shelters, but like during COVID, the shelters aren't even able to help as many people as possible because of, you know, the social distancing. So there's a lot of rules with shelters and some people aren't able to abide by. So, but anyway, so.
This is Wanda Gilbert Coker again on audio. As a person who works directly in the community and also keeps up with what the city is doing as far as budget and policies, and attend the city council meetings. I just want to put on record that it is factual and actual. It's not a guess. That we as people who need housing immediately, do not need to wait on a bond. There's funding available now. In fact, those tax credits are available through North Carolina Housing Financing Agency and other sources in the state. The county also has them. So we do not need to wait on a bond to house people today. The funding is available. Someone just needs to use it and spend it on the people instead of in other places. So I just wanted to state that when it comes to that affordable housing bond, you're talking about 2021. People need to be housed now. And there is money available to house people now. In fact, the $100,000 set aside for COVID people, for people that were experiencing COVID, has not been spent yet. So, like I said, there is funding available. So waiting on a bond is making people who are going through, pushing them in further crisis.
Well, I think everyone on this call is aware that there is an immediate need. It was an immediate need prior to COVID, during COVID, and it's going to be always an immediate need. The question is how does it get addressed? What's the solutions? And without available housing or somewhere for people to go, it doesn't matter how much money is out there, really. I see it, I understand it. I don't know how we get people who own apartments or houses or to open their doors to help those in need. I don't know, but anyway. Anything else, guys? the webinar that we did recently was a success. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough open space for the amount of people that signed up for it, Jeff. But I think we had over 300 people that signed up, but it was only able to hold 100 people. So I know we're going to address that next time. But just the fact that, I guess the point I'm trying to make, it shows that there's a need for us to still touch the community. People have questions. It's really sad that, the boards were kind of all shut down for such a long period of time, especially this board. And I'm not taking anything away from the other ones, but it's like we were pretty much shut down during a crisis period where it seemed like we would have been ramped up to be able to provide resources and help people even more. But, kind of is what it is. It's always something political. And we are a board, we are volunteers. And in the end, we're really not in charge of anything. But that's what I got of it. I just thought that was amazing that so many people had signed up. And unfortunately, they weren't all able to get in, but they'll get a second chance. And Jeff, I understand that will you be conducting the next one?
Yes, I will. That's going to be in October. And I already had some emails earlier today with Marquita. We've got another account with Zoom that will allow us to have up to 500 attendees. And so we'll be using that one for that, unless, if the city has one that can hold 1,000, I don't know if we're going to get that much, but I think at least 500 will be much, much better. We were amazed at the number of registrations for this last one. And what we're going to do is email the people who had registered for the previous one to let them know about this additional one and with the registration link so that they can get in touch. If they want to register for it, they can go ahead and do that.
Well, I think that's awesome. And piggybacking from what you guys are doing, and this is going to be even attached or associated with our budget. But I was thinking, and this is for the board, maybe because of the how many people was the participation of the people that tried to participate. What do you all think about moving forward doing, we didn't have our conference, but hosting some webinars and maybe having some guest speakers going forward on behalf of the, with the Fair Housing Board?
Is that to me or to the board? I'm sorry.
Well, to the board. We would probably need your assistance, but it was to the board.
I think that'll be really good.
Yeah, definitely. I can see them
think
as
it's
definitely
needed.
being helpful.
Yeah,
But
beneficial.
I would say, just to Jaleesa's point earlier, maybe we are getting to the point where there's a lot of webinars going on. Maybe we can work with other folks that do have webinars and aggressively advertise them. Because there are definitely people talking about this kind of stuff here. Maybe we are in a complete gap where no one is, because I wasn't able to attend the meeting, the webinar last week, because I tried to log in and it was capped out at 100. But if anyone else is doing anything similar to this, I feel like if it is a good cause, we should definitely try to champion that as well. If people aren't doing them, we should host them too.
And they're not, Colin. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of conversation around affordable housing, and I mean through the point of purchasing homes. etc. But I think when you start to talk about fair housing, I think that's a whole different category. And I think it's hard for people to talk about it if they, such as Jeff, and for what knowledge we have or what people we know to pull in, I don't think it's happening. You know, if it is happening, it's not happening with the community. So I think we can touch the community, whereas I think the other webinars and meetings that are going on, and you're right, there are a lot of them. There's like multiple speakers, something may be thrown in there somewhere, hit or miss, but I'm talking about just possibly even looking at some of the discussions we were talking about having at our last conference, and maybe pull from that and move and address some of those things. I don't know. We need
Yeah.
to do.
I mean, on those points, anyone we had to fly in, you know, we don't have to do that anymore, right?
Correct.
This is Wanda Gilbert Coco again, audio. I know that, I want to say it's Monday. There's a not fair housing, but there's a housing right forum that takes place. And that's been going on probably since about the second month into COVID. I want to say North Carolina Legal Aid does it versus the county. So that's been happening consistently. And I attend a lot of those. And also some of our neighboring counties, they've had fair housing accountability and virtual events like Johnston County, Orange County, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, they've had them as well. But as far as reaching out here in the area for Wake County or City of Raleigh, yeah, there's just, I would just say right now, because elections are getting ready to start taking place. I mean, if you're doing your ballot, absentee ballot, you already got yours. But otherwise, early voting starts October 15th. And I just know that, you know, there's a lot of people, usually it's a shared community that we're working with. So I just want to, you know, lift that so that when we are planning these things, it's not taking place around those same times to pull people away from things that are going on.
Well, that is something to consider. And I do believe that we're going to be in this state going into 2021. There's nothing showing anything different. So in our planning, I mean, that's part of the planning. We can determine what's going on now in our city, county, or community that people are having to focus on, and then just kind of plan around it. I'm just trying to find a way for us to not be forgotten by the community or have the community think that we've forgotten about them, and find a way for us to decide how to communicate with the community going forward. So whether that's January or whatever it is that we decide, because I don't know if it'll be a conference in April 2021. I'm a very positive person. I don't see it, not when I'm still quarantined here in mid-September. So we need a backup plan. And
I was going to say, yeah, we're happy to partner and do trainings, webinars. I mean, right now, Legal Aid is for trainings is doing everything online, but we're happy to do those, you know, with you all. let's just discuss dates and specific topics, and that sounds great. And I agree with Sandra that it's very questionable whether April 2021 there could be an in-person conference with hundreds of people as we had done in the past. And so I'm not sure when the board was going to be starting to have some initial discussion about that. But I guess my recommendation would be to think about figuring out a way to do a virtual conference. And that way, because I would hate to plan another event like we did this year, where we had amazing speakers and things it was going to be a wonderful event, and then have to pull the plug on it, soon before it. And so I share your lack of optimism about whether we'll be able to have hundreds of people together in next April.
Okay. Well, something to think about. What else is there? The other thing is, what time is it? The other thing is, Marquita had in her opening, when she sent her attachment, that there's 6 other boards and commissions that we can overlap. And we had talked about this and had possibly started doing some of this. Someone from every board attending a meeting from the other boards. And so she sent an attachment of the different boards. And I mean, we don't have to do it now, but it would be nice if we have someone from the Fair Housing Board identified to agree to attend one of the other meetings. It doesn't have to be all of us. So I'm just throwing this out there. For example, Substance Use Advisory Commission meet the second Wednesday, Human Relations the second Thursday. So we all have that agenda. Deja, if the Fair Housing Board should decide offline about who can take which meeting, do we have to do it in a particular way, or we just have to inform you that, or that person just has to show up to, how does this work now?
Yeah, so it's tricky because we just went through this with our HRC. If you guys want to, it's open to the public. You don't have to. Are you going to speak, I guess? Are you looking?
Not necessarily.
If you're looking to just show.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Marquita.
No, I say, yeah, the purpose is for them to go and learn about what the other boards and commissions are doing. And there will be, I think some of them ask attendees to introduce, like how you all do. If someone's attended your meeting, you may say, hey, who are you? And you can introduce yourself as a member of the Fair Housing Board, looking to partner and seeing, how your work overlaps. But I was thinking, so if it's not a vote, if they're just, I'm trying to think how that will work. Because you're just deciding to go, because it's open to the public.
Yeah, because technically right now, you guys will, if you do not choose today, you guys couldn't technically vote via email. So I would just say, you guys can just show up to any meeting, like Marquita says, public meeting. It's all on the City of Raleigh website, but at the same time, you guys want to make sure everything is covered. Did they have to list now, Marquita?
Yeah, everyone has the list. So you could be like, Shalisa says, I'm gonna go to this one.
Yeah.
And then Alia says, okay, hey, I'm gonna go to this one. Like something like that. It's simple, like informal like that.
It's just informal. We don't have to reach out.
Yeah, because you're not, you're just letting people know which ones you're gonna attend.
What you're going to, yeah.
Trying to make sure. Okay. All right. Well, great. And so we'll take care of that on the sidebar. Right quick, we'll get back on point right quick. The budget review, it appears that we had funds that rolled over reserve from 2018 to 2698, and from last year rolled over reserve funds of 12,430 and 34 cents. So our total reserve is 15,128.34 with council allocation for fiscal year 21 is $10,000. So we have some funds. One of the things we need to keep in mind is these funds that are in reserve that's rolled over are only going to be good through 2022. Am I correct?
Well, the end of this fiscal year. So yeah, we got to use all that money by June the 30th, 2021.
We have to use 19 also?
Because they're getting rid of the reserve funds. And we were, because the Fair Housing Board was in a unique position, they allow us additional time to use the reserve funds. So you have until, so that's the purpose, like last year for the conference, or this year, the conference, we were gonna, go above and beyond to help get that balance down. So July 1st, 2022, like you'll just be starting with your $10,000 that you get every year from council, and that's it. So the reserve funds will be gone.
So we have the remainder of this year and we have until July 2022? No.
June the 30th, 2021.
Okay.
Right, just like, no. Yeah.
So June, and Leah, get this, 30th, 2021. Okay, guys. We won't do it now, but we need to, we'll be able to get real creative at the beginning of the year when it's determined about the conference, which I'm more than sure probably end up being virtual, and if whether or not, I'm sure we can get creative and come up with some way to use this money. That's a lot of money.
I will say honestly, Sandra, because one thing I've learned was even though it ends June 30th, I have to have it reconciled before it hits June 30th. So just to be on the safe side, I would either say beginning of June, late May to make all final purchases, because if I don't get that purchase until June 14th and I don't get the transaction number until after that period, you might roll over to your next fund year.
Okay.
Yeah,
That happened previously, and I don't want that to happen, especially this large amount. So I just want to put that out there. If you guys could at least try to spend a good portion by May, so that way we don't have,
Is there a limit or restriction on how you can utilize your funds to? Is it all associated with education? Can you purchase things to help the community? Is there a rule, guidelines, or something that may help us, like?
As long as it's in alignment with the mission of the board, which is to educate people on fair housing. So as long as it's with that, so you can't just say, oh, we're just gonna go out and give people sandwiches and that's it. No, maybe if you give them maybe some food and some literature for fair housing, or if you want to support some other group that's doing something. But yeah, as long as it's tied into your mission, I think we can be flexible with that and we can be creative with that.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's, I'm glad you brought it up and, begin to think about a spend down plan, like what that looks like. And I say, honestly, the sky's the limit, you all. So we blue sky thinking here, just, creative ways on how we can bring it back to the mission of the Fair Housing Hearing Board.
Okay, guys, y'all think about it and then we'll circle back around to that. But I'm sure there's a few people on this call that can come up with something. I'm looking at two of them. But okay, any questions regarding the budget before we move forward? Staff liaison report. I think Marquita, you and Deja have probably shared all there is to share.
We've shared.
Wait, I have one more thing. I'm sorry. No, I have one more thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, of course you
That's
do.
fine.
I haven't talked to Marquita, so I'm sorry, Marquita. So please forgive me. But Miss Wanda met Wayne Miles from Stormwater And pretty much I've been working with him and roping Marquita in to help me about he presented to council yesterday about the text change of not being allowed to develop in a floodplain zone, in a flood zone. And so I kind of picked his brain into having his group, they have a stormwater action committee, kind of like your all board, but it deals with stormwater and building and, effects of stormwater and housing goes hand in hand, and just equitable services goes hand in hand. So I've been picking his brain about having someone present maybe, if it's okay with you guys, at one of your all meetings. Not now, but maybe involving you guys when we talk about the text change and talking about going out to community and reaching the community regarding, fair housing and flood waters and stuff like that. Because that turns into fair housing complaints and that turns into, mold and, that type of stuff. And that's when, code enforcement has to come in, and you have landlord tenant issues coming in because of flood waters and stuff like that. So hopefully soon, within, I think October, November is when they're going to start their community engagement action plan regarding the text change. And so I'll talk to Marquita. Marquita can talk to Sandra about exactly when, but I just want to put that out there that someone from Stormwater probably more than likely will be engaging you guys. I'm trying to also help bring other people in different departments within the city. I'm trying to connect those dots. So I'm really big on environmental equity. So that's why too, in housing. So, but yeah, that's.
Thank you.
This is Wanda Gilbert Coco again via audio. I think it would be great for us to partner with them and present something to the community, especially with, hurricane season is already upon us. But one of the things that Legal Aid of North Carolina does is a hurricane resiliency webinar as well. If we could form something similar to that to educate around that and, stormwater, hurricanes or something, I think that's another way to get to inform people, and we can partner with them.
I love the idea, Miss Wanda's Deja. My face is lighting up. I love that. Marquita knows.
I'm already we're gonna be on it. So thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm already gonna say, you know what, Miss Wanda had a great idea.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Look, I'm glad this is public that we put in the chat. Y'all see what Jeff put, right? Make sure,
right.
make sure that stays there.
I'll make sure I save it for you, Miss Wanda.
Yes, thank you.
Legal Aid, I'm just joking.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we talked about the fair housing webinar sessions.
I have another comment. Wanda Gilbert Coco audio. I know not only capacity I know I did a lot of outreach. We had 300, you all said, that signed up, but I was wondering if we could stretch it to an hour and a half, because it seemed like, I forgot his name. He had to go through it because we only had an hour and he didn't want the Zoom to go out. But maybe if we can go to an hour and a half and take a little bit more time on some of those subjects. And then, people have more room to ask questions or not. But it just seemed like we had to, the pace had to be picked up to get through the hour. There was a lot of information in a short period of time.
I agree, Wanda. That was a lot of information, and it left very short time for Q&A, which is something that we always struggle with when we're doing our fair housing events. So Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, that's completely fine to do it for an hour and a half. And I couldn't remember how long it was the last week, but yeah, I'll schedule. I'm going to be scheduling it on our Zoom this afternoon, and I'll just put it from 12 to 1:30. Does that work for folks?
This one was in the evening last time. I think that's why we got so many people interested.
So I will say this for clarification. Initially, it was, we were going to do one in the evening geared more towards community. And then the second one was set for noon to be during the day. But I guess the tricky thing piece is because we capped out at 100 that, so I think, were you suggesting changing the time or keeping it at noon to 1:30?
Let's definitely keep an afternoon session, but I mean, unfortunately, this is not going to answer any of the, or at least Wanda's point, because like, right, this has been an issue with every single thing we've ever done, where there's just not enough time in the day to talk about what we need. But even maybe rebroadcasting, is that something that's easy enough to do?
I will say that that's another thing. I did get the last presentation from Jack and Lauren. And so I'm working with our communication teams to post it on the city's YouTube, RTN, which is Raleigh Television Network, and additionally posted online. So within the next week or so, that will be online for people to view.
And we can record this upcoming event as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, even, I mean, maybe even, yeah, I'm trying to think of like, what's the best way to solve for way too many questions? Like, do we think people are going to post questions on YouTube? Is it worth it for us to try to harvest questions from the webinar chat and then have expanding sessions that go based off of that?
So Kyle,
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question to that. So to Jeff, I know that when you register, it asks you, it says like send questions to like Zoom to at Legal Aid. Did you all get questions that way? Let's see if that was
I'm not sure if we got any, but I'll try to check and see what came in. You know, we could, because I haven't created the. I think I could add a question for the registration part to just say, you know, type your if you have any questions you would like us to try to address, please type them here. And that way we could get a list of them and take a look at those and make sure that we're trying to cover as many as possible. I mean, it's always, you know, it's an issue that comes up in a lot of presentations. Sometimes there's a large number of people with questions, and it's not always possible to reach all of them. And then, you know, as lawyers, we also have to be very careful about not giving legal advice in an event like that is general information. But I will check. I have actually a call at 3 with one of our IT people, and I'll ask if we can add to the registration part a question about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess let's shelve my idea until the YouTube comes out, because I would like to see if we get more traction on that. And I think that's an easy place for us to get questions and then plug the fact that we're doing these. I mean, maybe we can add a site or even like a little blurb in the fair housing thing about the ongoing work that we're doing with webinars, because it sounds like we have no intention of stopping this, and try to, you know, create something that can continue this. Because, like, you know, obviously we want to have more time, right? You know, expending it from an hour to an hour 30 is a valuable 30 minutes, but it sounds like we need a lot more than 30 minutes. We need a lot more time to convey the subjects that we need to.
And also, is it possible, Marquita or Deja, to create a space on the Fair Housing's website for Q&A? You know, we've been talking about this for a long time. And several years ago, we started collecting questions, and then we'll kind of sort them out to see if there's any overlap. And we talked about posting these Q&As in an area where people can go out and, you know, the answers to their question may be already out there, you know, some type of key words or, you know, something like that. So if you don't get to everybody, is it possible to say, you know, we will post the answer to your questions and it's on the fair housing site, et cetera, et cetera. There's got to be a way to give, you're never going to be able to answer all the questions, whether you have a conference or whether you're doing it. Where can we possibly put this information?
And to expand beyond to the website, I mean, Wanda posted 2 Facebook links. You know, is that going to be a better platform? We've got choices.
We can definitely create a space on your webpage. And I didn't hear what you said, Colin, about Facebook. You kind of went in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, Wanda's posted in chat 2 Facebook links talking about webinars and ongoing communication. Potentially, that is a better space than trying to direct people to the city's website as well. Maybe we have more flexibility there. Maybe more discourse is possible. Again, the whole point of Facebook is discourse, and what we're hitting here on the Q&A is being able to bring questions forward and answer them. You know, even something where people can pose questions on the Facebook page, and Legal Aid, if you guys have a Facebook account, can answer those, you know, to your best of your ability, or any of the speakers that we bring on, have them answer it. It seems a little bit more robust than the city's website.
This is Wanda Gilbert Coco again via audio. It is possible to do a Zoom meeting and Facebook that coincides at the same time and receive questions. You would just have to have someone to monitor the chat for Zoom and monitor the questions for Facebook for them to be answered. But it is possible to do both simultaneously. Well, we call it Facebook Live, Zoom Live. Do both of them.
Yeah, we may be able to do that. I'll also check about that when I'm talking to our IT person, but I know Legal Aid does do some of those types of events as well. So I'll see if we can schedule that for this also.
Yeah, I think the hub we should try to pull everything into is it would be Facebook would be my suggestion. That just seems like it answers more of our questions than having to figure out how to like rebuild Facebook on the city's website. And again, that might even solve the problem of not enough time. Maybe we can have, you know, shorter sessions, questions, and then it turns into an ongoing Q&A or something along those lines, or even, you know, a Q&A that's brought into the text space, and you don't have to have someone constantly on video talking about it. We reduce the overhead by answering questions via text.
Okay, well, some good ideas. Marquita, you have the action items to be approved / voted upon. I don't know if any of our discussions require a vote of any kind, but I don't know, it seemed like a lot of action items have fallen in the lap of Jeff. Initially.
That's fine.
And we will, as a board, definitely get together and determine how to move forward regarding us continuing to communicate with our community regarding fair housing and look at our budget and come up with some ideas. So we have action items.
Most definitely. If I can interject, Sandra. So it's like thinking about how you want to spend the money, or come back with some creative ideas for next meeting. Think about some webinar topics. And I think it would be a good idea because I know I was going to ask Jeff about, it was something Legal Aid North Carolina just closed on a fair housing case. I think it was, and it spanned different states, and I think it was like
Yeah.
family housing. So I wanted you to give an update on that. And I was thinking, with based on the webinar topics, we can, you know, you can utilize legal aid, and then like Wanda, I mean, you all have your feet on the ground and you have your expertise in these different areas. So come back with some suggestions for that. And then also be thinking about how to reimagine the Fair Housing Conference for next year. Because I'm excited, like, even though it's not going to be in person, but it can be like whatever you all want it to be. And you could reach a whole lot more people in a larger span. So it was amazing before in person. So I see it's going to be like 2-3 times that. So think about some reimagining ideas for your conference. But I'll give, I do want to hear from Jeff about the case.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you. I forgot to mention that earlier. So we need to hire you as well for some PR. But yeah, so we just put it up on our website earlier this week. But we along with 3 other fair housing groups had filed a complaint against a company that markets rental housing primarily to students. And so they rent apartment buildings out, and each unit they rent by the bedroom. And so if it's a 2-bedroom apartment, each bedroom has its own private bath, and they rent out with a separate lease to for one bedroom and the other bedroom. Or if it's a 3-bedroom, the same thing, they're up to 4 bedrooms. And so in North Carolina, they had a complex out in Greenville. And so we did some testing, and they were requiring every person over the age of 2 to have their own bedroom. And so a child who, living with a parent would need to have a separate bedroom, and they charge, the full price for these bedrooms. I mean, it's not cheap housing. It's, $700 or $800 per bedroom. And so a single parent with 1 child would need to rent 2 bedrooms for that. Or if it was a couple with a child, they would need to rent 3 bedrooms, right? And they couldn't share, they would have to pay for that extra room. So we all filed a fair housing complaint that was jointly between the 4 organizations, Legal Aid and these 3 other ones, one in Indiana, one in Kentucky, and one in Michigan. And so we were able to reach a settlement. And so they are changing their policy. They're going to abide by the local occupancy codes. And so if the occupancy code says 2 people can share that size of room, then they will allow 2 people. If it says, only 1 person, then they can still just do it for 1 person. So they're going to change, follow the new policy, do their marketing and show and market to families with kids as well, and note that children are welcome. They're paying a total of $50,000 in damages and attorney's fees to the organizations and to our attorneys, and getting training and doing some other outreach work. So it was a really good settlement, and it actually affects over 5,000 units in 18 different states. And so it had a very broad impact. And I think it's a total of like 12,000 bedrooms or more than that that are involved. So it's really a very good resolution. And so if you again, I probably have said this before, and Jack and Lauren when they've attended meetings as well. But if you hear of instances of possible discrimination, let us know. We did that. We found that out based on our testing of sending individuals to inquire about the housing and what requirements or restrictions were placed upon that. And so even if you don't know for sure, you just think something sounds strange or sounds not right, let us know and we can try to investigate. We settled another case that we haven't publicized yet, where a complex was advertising that it was 21 and over housing. And again, that discourages families with kids from even applying there. They were intending to try to keep out young college students, and they could, legally they could require leaseholders to be 21, but they can't say everyone has to be 21. If a family, has a child, they should be allowed to live there. So we may be doing a press release on that settlement as well. Thank you for reminding me, Marquita.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Those units are expensive. Both my daughters, while in college, stayed in the, you pay for your private room and bathroom with the other shared space. And, you $650, $700 a month is just ridiculous. But I can't imagine charging a 2-year-old or requiring that somebody of that age needs to be, you know, that's intentional, like just ripping people off.
Yeah.
So anything else before we adjourn? Everybody's anxious to get back to work? Shalisa? Well,
I've been working the whole time.
Mhm.
I've been trying to get something done. It's like taking me a really long time. So I just finished it
That's because you're
in
home.
3 days. Thank
Hard
you.
to be motivated at home.
I'm sorry, y'all.
But is 1:55 meetings adjourned?